Hi, friend, and welcome. I'm Marilyn East. Thank you for joining my podcast, Express Light. I believe we each have a unique gift and ability. Being created by nature, I have the desire to start my own business, and I know firsthand how important it is to blend creativity and business together. It has not always been easy for me, but I have successfully built my boutique serving people from all over the world. Because of my experience, I am passionate about helping others like myself who are looking to express light in their own lives through their gift, skill, or talent, and make a living doing it. If that's you, tune in each week as I provide tips, interview those who are successful in their craft, as well as share enlightening stories of how to build a business as a creative entrepreneur. Welcome to Express Light. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. This is Marilee with Express Light, and today is a treat. I am with Brooke Bownes, and she actually lives in the UK, and she's a coach for people who've gone through childhood trauma, and she's going to be sharing her story a little bit, so you can kind of learn a little bit of, just the process of what that takes. Also, what led her into this and her passion. Brooke, I'm so glad to have you on the show. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let's just start out first by, I know you're in the UK, but where, what part specifically maybe? And then also just your personal story and how this led into what you do now.
Okay, I live in a very small village, and it's about a 20-minute drive away from Wales. So I live like kind of near the border of England, like going into Wales. So if anybody knows the geography of England and Wales and Scotland, they'll kind of know roughly where I am, kind of near the middle of Wales. Um, Absolutely beautiful countryside. It's like the Shropshire Hills, and it's absolutely glorious because we get a lot of rain here, so it's a lot of greenery. But yeah, how I started my journey, I wasn't always as happy as I am now, and successful. I actually started off, my life was very traumatic from the beginning because I was actually born with a cord wrapped around my neck, which caused like complications. And then I grew up with a narcissistic mother who constantly told me day in and day out that I was ugly. I didn't even have the audacity to be born properly, that she wished I'd have died at birth, that I'd never amount to anything, nobody would ever love me. And if I ever talked about my medical issues, then people would run away from me. So don't ever talk to anybody about that. So as you can imagine, I grew up with a very low self-esteem, very low confidence. And I just didn't kind of understand why, because like, what was wrong with me for my mum to be so horrible to me? And that's what happens with childhood trauma. When adults are saying things, we don't think, because we haven't got that critical faculty until we're about 7, we don't think that, or maybe they're having a bad day, or maybe they've had a traumatic childhood, that we automatically think, what have I done wrong? How can I put things right? So we end up being like big people pleasers. So I would just try and do anything to make her happy, so she wasn't angry at me and didn't take it out on me. And then I kind of went through my childhood like that. Wherever she could put me down, she would put me down. And obviously she'd had really deep inner child wounds that she had from her childhood, which resulted in her not being able to love me, because narcissists don't love themselves, and they're not happy people. They're very, very insecure. And they often see their children, especially their daughters, if they have them, as like a threat, and they like to mold them into what they really want them to be. I then went on from, like, as they say, jumping out the frying pan into the fire, and ended up in a narcissistic relationship. So I'm a real kind of like deep thinker and reflector, and thought, actually, the common factor is me. Maybe if I work on my mindset, then I'll have better people around me that will treat me differently. So I went on a journey of discovery of like personal development and worked on my mindset. And I got all the skills, and I got all the knowledge. And I was very passionate about wanting to talk about my life story, to see if I could help impact or inspire anybody else to realize that they're not alone. But when I wanted to do things, my body would be like, my heart would be pounding, my palms would be sweating. I thought, well, why am I so scared? Like, okay, right, feel that fear and do it anyway, but it didn't feel right to me. So then I came across, trauma and understanding trauma and how it can get trapped in the body. And I realized that although I'd worked my mindset, the trauma from like being a child was still trapped in my body. So every time I wanted to do something, even though logically I knew I could do it. My body was going, no, no, kind of like feeling like we were back being a 6-year-old. Like when I wanted to talk out on Facebook Lives or talk out on stage, my body was going, no, no, because it's dangerous to speak out. When we speak out, we get into trouble, because I was born in the era where children should be seen and not heard, and really, really behave themselves and not be outspoken. So I realized quickly that my body and my head were kind of like fighting against each other. And
Mhm.
so I started to work on the trauma and releasing that and healing my inner child wounds. And that was the big game changer. So now when I want to do something, even if I have like some nerves come up or feel a bit fearful, I feel that fear, then I process it, and then I can go on and enjoy doing whatever I want to do. And this is how it brings me to like my sort of like present day, where I want all women to be able to feel that, because so many women have got trauma issues that they don't always realize it, because if they feel stuck in some way, it's often related to like a childhood trauma. And you don't have to have had a narcissistic mother like myself, but sometimes it can be just a sentence that somebody says that, if you're feeling emotional, will stick with you and kind of stick in your body and stay with you until you actually start to process it and start to heal from that. So I know what it feels like to be that really scared, insecure little child. And I now know what it feels like to be, feeling secure in myself and having that confidence and self-worth to go and do the things that I want to do. And I want to raise that awareness so other women can think, oh my goodness, yes, that's me. Like if you self-sabotage, or if you're a big people pleaser, or if you're a big emotional eater, if you're a perfectionist or you procrastinate, these are all signals that you've had some childhood trauma that needs to be processed and sorted out. So I'm really, really passionate, as you could probably tell, about helping women to live the life they truly want without that guilt and shame. I have so many women that come to me and say, well, the women in my family have always done it this way, so I can't change. But if it's not serving you and it doesn't feel right, yes, you can change it. You don't have to follow the traditions of your families just because it suited your mother or your grandmother or your great grandmother. Doesn't mean to say it's going to suit you in this day and age.
I think that's the hardest thing too. I think people, we learn as we're growing up, and to step out of that box, you face a lot of fear to do that. And I'm sure there was a point, and I have a couple questions. One, did you have any siblings? And two, I'm sure there was a point where you said, okay, even as a child, what age were you roughly when you started recognizing, okay, something is different and I need to step out of these feelings? You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah. I had an older brother, and with narcissists, they often have like a golden child and a scapegoat. And I was the scapegoat because I was like the truth teller. My brother was like the golden child. And it's quite interesting. I've always had like shoulders on my head, old head on my shoulder, sorry. And I remember looking up to the sky and thinking, I don't know who's up there, because I didn't really understand at that age. But I would like to know what the purpose is for me being with this woman, because there must be a reason why I'm going through all this. There must be a purpose to it. And I finally found my purpose is because I can be really vocal about what I've gone on with now. I'm really open about my life. So
mhm.
I want to be the voice for women until they find their voice, because I want to empower other women to have their own voice. But to start with it, I know how difficult it is to have that voice and to speak out, because especially if you've got a narcissistic mother, because society says, well, she's your mother, she gave birth to you, it's the only one you've got, maybe she didn't mean it that way, it can't be that bad, she must love you some way. But when you've got a narcissistic mother, you haven't got that same bond. So you when you sort of speak out, you're not only speaking out against your mother, but you're kind of, society will say things as well. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword there with that. So it's letting people know that it's okay to feel how they feel. Not everybody's got that special bond with their mother, especially if they've had trauma in their childhood.
Mhm. And I think too, you speak mother, but it really can be in any sense when you've had somebody speaking something over you that is really just fear. And to step away from that fear and recognize your strengths. I mean, I look at you and you are a wonderful role model, because it takes a lot of guts to step out and to say, and to turn from something that you've always known and to believe different about yourself, and to
Yeah.
realize who you are. And I know for, some of the experiences that I've been through that have been nothing compared to what you've been through. I know it takes a lot of guts to step out and say, I've been hurt in a situation, but I'm going to set that aside and this is who I am, and I'm sure that you can speak from that angle. And maybe even, have you dealt with any of, the parents or the significant others, or siblings, and helped open their eyes as well to kind of see, the situation, or you deal mostly with the child?
Yeah, I will help like women that have got issues and deal with their inner child wound, which then is a ripple effect because it helps, their families and their extended friends and things like that. So it's um it's interesting because people just think, oh my goodness, how can you be so cruel to your mother? But what we don't realize is if it wasn't like a parent or a family member, if somebody came up to you and said, oh, so and so's abusing us, you wouldn't suggest you go back to them. But with society, especially with mothers, people suggest that we just put up with it and deal with it because she's their mother. So it's again, it's showing that that person isn't important and isn't worthy to be their own person. And I really believe that we're all diamonds, but some of us have just been buried under other people's beliefs and thoughts. So I help them women to release those layers so they can actually shine their diamond as bright as they need to shine, whether it be, you know, just in their household, in their work, in their business. Not necessarily like me wanting to go on stage and go on numerous podcasts and share my story, but some women just want to be heard and seen in their own environment.
I work with a lot of business owners, and I've used a lot of local artists and whatnot. And what I find, it's a different field, but it's kind of the same analogy where, maybe an artist grew up. And in fact, I have a story too. I recently hired, I needed a sitter for dogs. So you look on Rover, that type thing. But through the experience, I had this little family come, and the little boy was an artist, and he was, there's two children, and he wanted so bad to share his artwork with me. And the mom had actually made him leave it in the car. And through the process of them just visiting and whatnot, I kind of interacted with the little boy. And as they were walking out, I had made, like, I'd love to see the art type thing. And he brought it up and he shared it with me. And he was like, I can't describe. I mean, this young little boy was an amazing artist. And in the house, when we were all visiting the whole time, the mother was very kind of pushing it to the side, like it's not really important. And
Mm,
it bothered me. So that's a big reason why I kind of like pushed for that a little bit. And then the whole conversation turned, and it ended up being, well, I know my son really enjoyed sharing his art with you. Maybe you could, because I have a child that's an artist as well. And so I kind of understood like some of the things that he would be into or needing and that kind of thing. So I had kind of shared some tips. And she's like, my son really loved those tips. He would love to kind of connect more. And I'm like, well, I can go to lunch with you guys anytime, that type thing. But really, I do encourage you to venture out and really expand on his artistic ability, because he could be phenomenal someday, and that's his passion. And so I share that story to say that in an analogy way, I see the same thing sometimes with artists. Like, they've either grown up loving what they do, or maybe they don't feel really great about what their gift is, but it's also not been developed. And
mm,
it always breaks my heart, because it's like, you know, I don't know what voice spoke to you, or if it's just your insecurity thinking that you're not great at what you do, but put it out there. I started from nothing. I'd had no understanding of how to do the craft that I do. And when you have somebody, I had a father that was great, and a mother also that was great at always telling us that we can do anything that we put our mind to, and had very positive insight, but not everybody has that. So it bothers me when I see somebody who's so talented that could go change the world with their
mm,
craft, and they're not developing that. And then you see that later, they still have that passion, but they're very insecure about it. They hide it.
yeah.
And so that's my passion. It's a little bit the same, but I love to help creatives get started in their gift and being able to put it out into the world in a business format, because it's just such a wonderful thing to do, to be able to do what you love and help other people through that. So when you were a child and, you had instances with your mom, Did she ever get help? Did she ever recognize her need or nothing at
No,
all? Yeah.
no, because with narcissists, they think that it's everybody else's fault. And her famous saying was, "If you just behaved, everything would be okay. It's all your fault. It's your fault. I'm angry. It's your fault. I'm upset." So, because they've got such deep inner child wounds that they won't recognize them, because if they did, they'd have to deal with them, and it's too painful for them. So they project that hurt out onto other people, and normally their children, and they won't take responsibility, because narcissists are basically like a toddler in an adult's body who can't control their emotions and process their emotions. So it's always everybody else's fault. And if you spoke to my mother, she'd say, "I have no problems. It's just the other, or everybody else in the family, that they just need to like toe the line," such.
So she's still in that mode. She's never kind of worked through her emotions or anything. Oh, that's so hard.
No, they
To hear
it's
that.
very rare that a narcissist will put their hand up and say, I need help. And they just tend to get worse as they get older, because they feel like they're losing their charm of being able to like charm people and manipulate people and love bomb them as such. And also they feel more and more insecure the older they get as well, because they're such insecure people. They don't like themselves and they're not happy, and
Mhm.
they hate the fact if they see anybody else happy and enjoying their lives, especially their children. They will do anything they can to like destroy that and put the child down and make themselves the center of attention.
Mm. Yeah, that's awful. That's so interesting to hear. I mean, we pass people every day, all day long, and we never really know what some people are going through. And I mean, this is a big topic too, but even with all of the things going on with human trafficking and whatnot, it's just making we want to be more alert and aware of the people around us. I mean, like the story I explained, it was really I could have just put it under the water and not ever, put it behind me and not ever thought about the fact that she was hiding his art. But when you kind of keep your eyes open to the people around you and what you're going through, just saying something simple and
Mm.
addressing that person that is, whether it's a child or an adult or anyone that is, seems like they're hidden in the background, bring them forward, because people do need to express themselves. And it's exactly why I like to do this podcast. I like to bring people on and share their stories and their passions. And it's been a wonderful delight having you on here. So if anyone wanted to work with you to specifically, what tips would you give them? Maybe just 2 or 3 tips to say, hey, this is where I would start if I were in your situation.
It's getting curious about where you react in your body to things. Like if you want to go and do something and you suddenly go, like take a sharp intake of breath, or you tense your shoulders up, that sends a signal to your subconscious mind to say there's there's danger about, even if it's not actual danger, because your body is still in living in like as a 5 6 year old.
Mhm.
And it's noticing when you react to things and how you do things. Like if you want to go and do something, like for instance, I work with a lot of business women, and if they want to do a Facebook Live to like grow their audience, the thought of them doing a Facebook Live, they're like, I can't possibly do that, because I might forget my words. But they are going to forget the words, because they've gone into that fight, flight, or freeze. And then we're not acting from our prefrontal lobe, where the logical part of our brain, we're actually acting from the part that's been triggered. And we won't be able to think straight, because our body's ready for that action of physically running or fighting or hiding somewhere. So it's being really aware of your body and getting curious as to where that thought and feelings come from. So like for me, when it came to doing like a Facebook Live, it was like, if I speak out, I'm going to be in trouble. So that equals danger. So I'm not going to do that. So I procrastinated. And how I help my clients is, we have us as an adult true self, we have our inner child, and then we have what's called protector parts that come in when our inner child feels insecure, doesn't feel loved, good enough, worthy, or important. And those protector parts come in to protect the like 6 of of us.
Mm.
So if you start to procrastinate over something, or if you're a perfectionist, and I need to get it perfectly right before like with your crafts and stuff, if people are doing oh no, I need to get it perfectly right before I show it to anybody else. Um, that can be an inner child wound, that of not feeling good enough, or not feeling worthy or important enough to display
Mhm.
my creation that I've made. So it's really noticing how our bodies react, because our bodies will send that signal to our subconscious mind, and then we will act accordingly. So like things I love to do now, like I love to do a Facebook Live now. When I first did it, it was horrendous, and I procrastinated for absolutely ages. But now I'll just think, okay, Facebook Live. There's no reaction in my body. In fact, it's like, oh yeah, I really want to do that. It's going to be great fun because it'll help somebody out. Like doing these podcasts and things. I set myself a challenge to do 31 podcasts in 31 days, and so many people are like, oh my goodness, that's so brave, talking on all those podcasts. I could never do that. And they go like that, thinking about it and thinking about me just doing it without those just doing it. So it's being really aware of what's going on with your body and where you're feeling it in your body, and then getting curious to think, why am I feeling scared to do that? Why am I feeling anxious to do that? Why am I procrastinating over that? Why am I trying to self-sabotage myself? What beliefs and thoughts are running in the background? And are they my beliefs and thoughts, or are they somebody else's? Because often when we've got inner child wounds, it's because our parents have had those inner child wounds of not feeling good enough, and they're fearful. So they project those onto us, and we grow up thinking that that's the norm, but it doesn't have to be.
Exactly. And I think too that, you hit a button for me too when it comes to the lives. It's I'm the same way. I think in general, people don't really think about why they're afraid to do something. I think we
Yeah.
just instinctively react. And I like how you brought up that point to stop and think about it, because really, if you're putting your thoughts toward the person and the audience that you're going to serve, you're not going to be so focused on yourself, and it takes that pressure off. And I've had to personally work through that a little bit, because I'm love people, but doing like Zooms and doing videos, I'm an interactive where I love to kind of like see the expressions, and Zoom's a little easier, but like to just do a video of myself talking to a screen,
Yeah.
that takes a lot, but you have to put your thoughts to who you're serving. Because, me personally, I want to like look at someone's eyes and kind of interact with them and kind of bounce that, you know, rapport back and forth a little bit. And you don't get that with the screen. So
No.
I do understand the fear spot that you speak of a little bit in that aspect. So, but it is putting yourself in the thought of the audience you're serving,
Yeah,
also.
and it's not natural to be talking to yourself on the screen like when you're doing a Facebook Live either, because like you say, you're normally interacting with a different person as well. So it's realizing that. And I love the fact that I love to get communities together, and like I'm doing a boot camp in September talking all about heal your inner child, heal you, which is like a free boot camp. So if anybody would be interested in coming to check it out, I can give you the links to pop in the show notes. Because it'd be great to have anybody, if they resonate with anything, oh my goodness, yeah, I procrastinate, or oh my goodness, yes, I'm a perfectionist, and you can like come on to the boot camp and find out how to start healing from those protective parts that come up.
Yes, absolutely. Do you have an Instagram or a Facebook you want to share as well, or a way that they can
Yep.
connect to the website?
Yeah,
Or
I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook. It's Brooke Bownes. It's a very unusual name, so I think there's only one of me. So yeah, feel free to like, just look me up and connect with me, and I can give you the links to my Instagram and my Facebook as well.
to conclude, I wanted to ask one last question. In your relationship with your brother now, does he see things when he looks back, or does he still have the same? Does he have a different perspective?
No, he knows what she's like. He's a bit more duty bound to her than I am, because I moved away, and she chose not to speak to me once I started to heal, because she wasn't getting the reaction she wanted. Because narcissists are a bit like alcoholics or drug addicts. They need somebody to get their supply from, to soothe their inner child wounds. So when I wasn't reacting and I started to respond instead, she wasn't getting what she needed from me. So she cut me off and found somebody else to manipulate and control instead. But my brother and my family know what she's like, and that they you will just think, oh well, that's just the way she is, and they are very careful about what they say, because she can easily explode and cause a family argument at a drop of a hat. So
Mhm.
so yeah, it's not a very pleasant place to be in her company, but
Mhm. It is hard. Do you have a relationship with your father?
unfortunately he passed away a couple of years ago. But We were very close when I was growing up, and he was, you know, very, very caring, but he didn't know what was going on because she was very calculating when she did the things she did, and I was always threatened that if I told him, I would get it even worse. So
Mhm.
he had no idea what was going on. And I'm actually going to be writing my life story next year in a book. And I wouldn't have ever done it while he was alive because it would have broke his heart. But now he's passed away, I feel like it's my time to write that and help other women now.
That's great that you had him though, because that was at least a relief of strength for you, during
Yeah.
those times. So, and then all the years after. So that's good to hear. Well, Brooke, it's been wonderful visiting with you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. If anyone is interested in working with her, I will be providing the links. She will have a program available for you. It's very interesting and insightful to learn about yourself. And I know that it is hard sometimes, but when we work on ourselves, we have so much to give, and we realize that. And you have an opportunity to change your life. And who wouldn't want to advance and be better in any day? I know for myself that any steps that I take to, improve the way I think, I love to use mentors and coaches. Brooke is a wonderful coach, and she does help with insight on child trauma. Get to know her. She's wonderful. Brooke, any last words?
Yeah, just to let you know that if anybody does email me, I'll put my email link in that I do offer a complimentary 30-minute call. So if anybody wants to jump on a call with me and have a chat with me, if anything's resonated or they feel triggered by anything, I'm there for them. So just email me. I do answer my emails personally. And also just to let you know, I have got a book I've already wrote, How to Break Through the Self-Sabotage Cycle. So if anybody's interested on that, it's available in Amazon. I'll put those links, I'll give those links to you to pop in the show notes as well.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. And we will definitely have to meet up again because I do love to share tips and strategies. I'm sure I don't know what the weather is over in your area, but it's warm here. So I hope you have a lovely rest of the day, and we'll get together once again soon.
Okay, yeah, it's 8:30 in the evening now and it's been raining all day. So but yeah, we do have sunshine sometimes in England. So yeah, but it's lovely having been on your podcast and I appreciate you inviting me on and it's been great chatting to you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.